Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4 Man the Guns DLC, just a straight game, so we're looking at the mechanics mostly. But I had been talking to the guys on the chat, and we were looking at this. This is a very well researched resource map. It's sort of done at the state level. I'm not going to say much more than that. I will. I know people who are doing some of the research or have done research for this, but it is not accurate. But it is accurate as we have been able to humanly make it. I say we because you can look in the public chat. Bill Core's some of his stuff that he's posted, actually mostly a long time ago, talking about oil resources and other things. So this is as good as we can get it with all of the available research. Now, I had somebody from Brazil, I believe he's from Brazil, but Latin American, talking about oil in Brazil that was discovered at this time period. Notice there's no oil on this map. And now he was talking about rubber. There is rubber here, obviously, and he was also talking about maybe in here, Minas Gerais, and oh yes, lots of steel and whatever, and you know, used a ton of rubber term. Okay, a ton of rubber is not useful to us. Okay, cool. Didn't know that about Bulgaria. Rose oil. But there, if you want to contact me on the Paradox forum, that is gamer_1745 over there. If you have period resources, a period map, it was a photograph of an actual period map that has where oil fields are, or sometimes they're infographics, maps with other information that talks about how much oil a year, a month, or whatever was pulled out of a particular region. Or if you have period statistics, that you can photograph the, digitally, the documents from the period, hard period evidence of anywhere in the world so being extracted, either going on right around, because if they found a bunch of stuff in 1910, a mine may be played out, so they Bolivia, so many tons of iron ore in 1910 doesn't mean that they're still pumping out at a similar rate in 1936. So something close to the time period, what was happening, and then what happened and developed, because as we can see here, you have expand rubber plantations in Nigeria, develop tungsten deposits, and there are some of these things for other countries as well. So and the U.S. definitely helped with expanding rubber and other resources in the Americas during this period, because most all of the rubber and whatnot came from this area of the world. So there had been not heavy reasons to go out of their way. So to do this, so if it's a resource and you know about it and you have good evidence of actual period, because it's one thing if it's all in the ground, that could be enough to have an event to exploit it, but sometimes it may be all in the ground and it's up in the Andes Mountains, very hard to get to, that there's hardly any roads, or out in the jungle somewhere, that you don't just like, oh, we're building a mine here. No, you've got to build roads and build infrastructure, and that could take months or years to develop. So the mere fact that they may have known of a deposit that then later, like we can see here in Libya, which produces lots of oil to this day, in this time period, they were exploring for oil, but they had not found any. There was actually, and this was Tommy Lotto found some of this stuff for Hearts of Iron 3, and some of the early expeditions to drill for oil, see about the Italians if there was a possibility in North Africa, and basically they didn't find any. So he created for his mod some nice events that has a random chance of possibly adding oil resources, that you have to spend a lot of resource, ICs to get that, with only a possibility of getting a return on it. So it's a crapshoot. Whether you want to go about it to get Italians to have more oil, and more than likely they're not going to find it, but it's possible that they find it. And there was talk at the time, the mere fact that if they had found it in 1940, how long does it take to get an oil field up and running, to pumping out oil, to then getting it, system to getting it out, and whether ships to Europe to a refinery, or build a refinery local, how long, to get gasoline, how long does that take? It's not like, oop, it happens 30 days later. And especially if you don't have a like America had pre-set up abilities to build refineries. If you've never built an oil refinery in your country before, you may not have the expertise, knowledge to just start, this is what you need to do to build an oil refinery. We've done it before. Not that it's like secret information. It's just, do we have people experienced at doing it? And so you have to look at all that. So if you want to contribute to Hearts of Iron, or to possibly, because you post the stuff quite publicly in the Hearts of Iron forum, modders can come in and will come into this and add stuff to the game. I know the Black Ice people would be very happy to add things like this, so long as they have good evidence and try to do it historically. Oh, you retracted it. Right. In 38, and there had been looking for it. I know there is 3 points of, or whatever these, three resource available of oil, and I don't know how accurate that is. I know in Hearts of Iron 3 there's more oil in Saudi Arabia, but I do know that they were just sort of exploring it. I do know that there were significant oil fields discovered in Iran at this time, and one of the big reasons that Britain wanted to control this part of the former Ottoman Empire and give France this part was the known oil reserves in Britain, because of its fleet, and knowing that they were moving from a coal burning shipping, and military naval shipping, to an oil building. They wanted to secure access to oil, blood for oil, kind of things, as the modern people. Yes, the British wanted to make sure they had access. Doesn't mean they weren't going to pay, British pounds to somebody, in Iraq for the privilege of getting the oil, but they wanted to make sure it was in their political control and wouldn't be, an embargo, either locally, Iraq, or if they were going to go to war with the French again, the French, just a trade war or something, the French couldn't embargo oil to the British. Oh, yes. That someone who posted, I don't know if you looked at the video, who posted, they talked about in 1500 they were mining steel. Yeah, no, steel's a production, not a is a product, not a mineral or resource. Absolutely. Okay, 1940. Now, so this is maybe a little bit early. Yeah. What can I say? That isn't too big of a thing. And is that one of the ones that we could develop? No. Oh, see, it's highlighting right here when I go over that. That's cool. And here, so we can. Oh, this is cool. I actually hadn't known that that would actually highlight the area on the map. Probably because when I had gone over this, I hadn't been looking at the right area of the map, so that we can see where this can be developed. And presumably because we don't control Saudi Arabia, if there is a developmental thing. Hello, Jonathan. Good to see you. Nice to have you here. So trying no, I haven't, Ari. Thank you for it. I just really haven't got to it yet. busy with all the other things I've got to get done, but I will be at some point. It looks good. Okay, so let's get the clock rolling. So just if you have any desire to contribute to Hearts of Iron 4 or to the modders, you very well may. Of course, simply putting it, either getting the information to me or publishing it in the public forum doesn't mean that it's going to be in. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be in fast. Okay, firefighting drills for our ships. Let's come down here. Okay, that gets that. Well, let's 1938. Yes, I'm loving the Man of the Guns. It doesn't solve all of, because I have played, not in this series yet, I have played up until the Battle of France, and France was lost. They don't seem to have substantially improved the combat AI. So we still have the problems that, in my opinion, are still significant with that. But it's nice improvements here for these doctrines. Again, I want to bring up is that if we had a bunch of stored up Army experience or Navy experience, we could spend, if you have 100 of it, you could spend 100 to boost the doctrine research rate. I really like that touch. Still madly exercising my army, which, in my opinion, this is, and obviously we're going way beyond the experience level, is not worth it for the cost of the equipment, for the benefit. But it is giving us the benefit of army experience, and that, because our order of battle in this game starts out so sucky. Okay, Asush. You can see here we've added these two already, and that. So it would have been very sucky if we didn't have that. So there's a lot of improvements. I have not been playing with these, naval invasions yet, but these things, and I don't use, partially just because I like to micromanage, quite admittedly, and there's people who don't like to micromanage, I understand that, but like to micromanage the combat. But whenever I've done combat plans, they never seem to follow what I'm in, wanting them to do. Okay. I think because, well, I have to look at what's going to happen next. What's going to happen next? Okay, 38, we're doing a little bit of small arms. 39, 40 small arms. Artillery, 39, 40. Okay. Aircraft, 1940. So we don't, meaning, so I don't, because I don't know if I'm going to pursue heavy fighters anytime soon. So I don't need to have a thing that improves research on fighters until then. So, shipping we already have. So I'm looking at, we have to do a new research technology. What to do? Tank designers, Vickers Armstrong, armor reliability, self-attack. It'll be a while before we do too much of that. So, now let's, because we are going to face division attack, division speed, division defense. We're gonna start putting, we're gonna get Ironsides as head of our army. Main goal, it is both a, I've been doing it, I did a test run before this, like I say, get to the Battle of France to sort of know what I was doing. So I have an idea of what I'm talking about. We're going to play a primary naval campaign. I will help, and you'll see what I will try to do. It won't keep France from falling, but we're going to try to help France as long as we can and try to extract the British forces from France successfully. Okay, we are going to lay sea mines, but still lay mines everywhere we can. We're going to, as I say, lay so many mines on the English Channel and other places. You'll see where I try to do it, that you could walk across the channel, though of course you can't walk on mines, even if you know, even more than figuratively. But yeah, we're going to do mine warfare, and we're going to kind of try to constrain them. That's in the Mediterranean too. And so we're looking at testing out naval stuff, and we're going to also similarly, once we get near to war with Japan, we're going to be doing that. So it's going to sort of be a historical type idea here. So, but that in any nation, well, right now I can't really. I think I have sent, no, they wouldn't let me send. I tried to send an attaché, but they wouldn't let me, even when I had the political power. So there's nowhere I can. Well, I don't have the political power, but would China let me? No. That looks like it would be a negative, even if I could too. So there's not really any place for me to intervene at the moment. I'm not going to be doing these sort of crazy, let's see who we can invade, just to grab up some territory that's unhistorical and unrealistic and wouldn't have happened in real life. So we can see Japan is doing fairly well. I think we're going to abandon Hong Kong at a suitable point. Yeah, there is a fortify Hong Kong and stuff, but I think we'll just, at a suitable point, we'll come down and try to hold Singapore. And we're letting the clock roll pretty fast. I often seem, as soon as I do this, it needs me to pause, but this is going all right. Yep, just like it's happening. Okay. Naval rearmament, very good. And Yugoslavian fighter competition. Yugoslavian Air Force is currently holding trials for a new new light fighter. According to our air attaché, our newest model is poised to win a formal request from Yugoslavian government. Absolutely, air experience completed. Licensed production of the Hawker Hurricane to Yugoslavia. Yep, we'll do that. Get us some more air experience. Okay, so we've expanded our. Was more than that. Naval warfare. Now we're going to come up to air defense. That going. And now we will see if we can. No, here. Many more factories, but we're going to build, or shipyards. We're going to build even more. Let's see. Let's. Oh, can't yet. 20 over there. Okay. Well, out in Wales would be all right. Hey, Django, good to see you. I hope you will try and hold Norway. We will see what we can do with Norway. If you want PP, you should wait 10 days, only then start new focus. Yes, it would help out, assuredly. But I want to get to radar very fast because I want to start researching it with the bonuses. So I don't need it. Like it, but don't, critically need it at the moment. I'm going to slow this down a little bit. So world tensions actually just dropped a little bit. But I'm loving all this naval stuff. It's going good. Plan R4. Don't know what's that referring to, quite honestly. As you see, we have Philip Carr. Okay, the Panay incident. American-British gunboats were attacked by Japanese aircraft in separate actions today while evacuating Western civilians from the front line in the war between Japan and China. Despite being clearly marked as American vessels, the USS Panay was hit by 2 bombs and sunk, with 3 American and 1 Italian citizen killed and others wounded in separate attack. HMS Ladybird, one British sailor, was killed. Both American and British governments have issued strong protests. The incidents highlight increasing tensions between the 3 foremost naval powers. Now, to my understanding of this incident, I do believe those were Army aircraft. I don't know that for a fact, so don't take that as anything sure. The Japanese government eventually pays some indemnities over this, and this was definitely not part of the Tokyo government's plan. But I do believe the local, regional, whatever you want to call it, military commanders in China, Japanese military commanders in China, knew full well and approved the attack. The Japanese government in Tokyo had long since lost control of the military in China. So this was not an accident. This was not a mistaken identity. This was arrogance on the Japanese part, and was a clear political move to push Europeans out of China. So yeah, everything okay. Improved equipment, great. Well, as a suggestion, I would place infantry with artillery and AA in Singapore. They should be able to hold that line almost indefinitely. Best would be to hold Denmark. But that's impossible. Yeah, I can't hold Denmark. Couldn't get troops there fast enough, I don't think. That would hold the Germans from taking the Danish islands. Yeah, I'm not even gonna try. I don't know about. I haven't tested trying to hold out from Japan. I hear you, JP. I don't know if you have in-game evidence for that or not. You know, somebody's done it. Where is it here? Okay, it's over here. There is. Looking for it. Looking. The colonies. Mediterranean, somewhere. Fortify the Rock, fortify Malta. Somewhere. I know, I saw it. I know. Imperial integrity. Air defense. Oh, war. Okay. Singapore strategy. Okay, fortify Asia. Hold Hong Kong. Get some coastal forts. I don't know that would be enough to do it. Yeah, you're thinking logically. Remember, this is Hearts of Iron. It doesn't always hold. I'm land, and so we'd have to get through fortify Asia. Get through hold Hong Kong, and the coastal forts won't do us anything, I don't think, to defend against air attack. Landward fortifications, that would help. That with the AA might very well hold it. But the question, would we rather go down Singapore strategy, landward fortifications for Singapore, and Peninsula War, which to me that's the war in Spain during the Napoleonics, but pursue this, and that's where I'm, if I'm going to go, that's where I want to pursue it. Netherlands can easily hold. I think that there are 4 or 5 problems. No, I don't think they can be held, unless you're talking about the Dutch method of simply hiding your country underwater. And yeah, I'm going to keep teasing you about that, but no, I don't think so. Not on a long-term basis. And there are people have commented about, well, there are Danish forts in World War II, blah 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 blah. Some of my rants over. I'm not saying you guys here on chat now. Total War fort spam, and there are some forts right in here. I believe that they're already there right now. We just don't see them because can't see them. But, and I'm pretty sure, do both. Yeah, do both. Let's do everything. IKB. Yeah. But Arno will back me up on this, that there were no basic forts along the border of any significant amounts with Germany. Oh, we have that. Okay, so we've got 38. We are pushing. Okay, well, we could do this for a 150% bonus. What is that from? Bonus from? Oh, that is if we want to use up these. I don't know that we want to use up our naval experience on this. Yeah, I hear you, but I don't know that I can get there and do that as a practical matter. Okay, we've got that, That's all looking good. Yeah, let's just pursue this for the moment. Make sure we have that. Hey, Duncan, good to see you. Duncan the Barbarian. Okay, yeah, great. Well, that's what was posted on this was the first. There's 2 more episodes between what you're seeing now and what was shown, so we are a little bit further ahead in 38. But yep, it's the same series. No, I think the earlier ones were some airborne invasions in Norway that predate the Dutch airborne operations, fall of Nanjing. So that predates that by a little bit for airborne operations. The glider operations were also in there as airborne, getting Eben Amal particularly. That's at least how I pronounce the fort. Eben Abel. I've heard several other pronunciations. Yeah, Norway first, then Benelux for German paratroopers. And glider-borne forces, those are also airborne, of course, too. So I don't know if those glider, probably those glider troops were airborne, parachute qualified. I don't know for a fact, but they were part of the Luftwaffe airborne division, so I presume they weren't army troops. So. Yes, the 9th Panzer Division went in there. Okay, well. Let's see here. We could. Yeah, let's just regular. We're not going to speed research because I want this Navy experience to build modifications to my ships. Did a bad job in Crete. I mean, they took it and they did pretty well. I always think of myself that that was the largest. Well, I would say Crete was such a bad job that the Germans never did another operational parachute drop again. They got slaughtered, and it was only a close run thing and British mess ups that allowed them to win. Um, Crete didn't work out well. I'm sorry. I just um, so Crete was just not. Now you do understand, JP. There was some various airborne, including the idea of flying troops after they quickly secured the airport in Oslo, flying in more troops via planes into Norway, and they did some parachute landings to secure the airbornes there, and they also parachuted in more airborne personnel after they had already had the Narvik landings, but just as reinforcements. That all happens literally days before what's happening down here, and that at least the battle around Trondheim, because the British invade or counter invade or whatever here is actually, this was where their main invasion was. We always think of the Narvik events up here, but they're also up in here, sort of in Narvik, and they really wanted to come into Trondheim and move in and hold, or push the Germans out of Norway. That is all still going on while they're starting this invasion. So this is all just really sort of overlapping, and so it's within days. It's it's not the same troops. They hadn't been able to recover and do more operations. And of course this is so bad here that Sussman dies in the attack when his airplane crashes into the sea. Yeah, it's a real mess. I'm sorry if you think it's just luck. And basically the first day the Germans are beaten. Germans are defeated the first day, and it's only the British going, oh hell, we're being invaded. And the British situation, there were some Greek units that had literally zero ammunition for their guns, and the British couldn't do anything about it because the British didn't have any ammunition for the Greek guns because they were different caliber. There just wasn't the ammunition on the island for some of the Greek units, and there were lots of British units that had barely any ammunition, and the communications were, so the British, after the first day is sort of done, and that night the Germans are just about done in, the British decide to withdraw from some of the airfields, if I remember correctly, and it's only in that point that in the morning the Germans are able to do some light attacks, secure some airfields that then allow flying in more troops. The British sink one of the main troop ships, transports, whatever, that kill hundreds of German soldiers in that. And so it's a real mess. It's a real mess. The Germans succeed, yes, but it's a real mess. Ever seen footage of the Soviet paratroopers sitting on? Yes, that was some of the early pre-war experimentations, and people didn't know what parachuting, as in a military sense, was going to be. So yeah, they got, because part of the concept with parachutists is that if everybody say stands in the aircraft and jumps out one at a time, you're going to spread your troops out over a longer distance. But if you all sort of go off all at once, and you'll have a spread, you'll naturally spread because it's not all at the exact same time. You'll have them down in a clump, and so I've seen the parachute drop that you're talking about, Duncan, and I don't know if on that Soviet model of aircraft how quickly they thought they could get the guys out of the door. So you have to go almost, those who have better parachute training than me, it's not quite running and jumping out the door, but it's a fast shuffle, fast get out, and you need to do it, and you can't go, somebody's parachute rig or something is hooked up, and we got to hold on, just take 30 seconds to unhook something, to check something. No, you got to keep going, keep flowing to get all those guys out of the door as with a space, of like a 3 count or something like that. But it's all very quick, but while that's all happening, you're getting the next guy ready to go. And so, yeah, early on, the Soviets, they don't, no one's like written the manual yet. They're experimenting to write the manual. So that is not, in theory. In practice, it's a bad idea of trying to get everybody hanging on to the wing as you're flying. But in theory of like, well, how do we get all these guys off and down on the target in a coherent unit? It's not a bad idea to see like, well, can we do this? What's going to happen? So that works. Remember, it was said the only reason the Germans won at Crete was because the British and the Greeks lost. Yeah, that's sort of the thing. But can you say it was as bad as Market Garden is my point. Okay, Market Garden and the movie and the book, A Bridge Too Far. Okay, what does that say? The first 2 of the 3 were complete successes. It was the third, and we could talk about the bad radios. We can talk about that the British, more so than the Germans, jumped right into unknown resting Waffen-SS units that were reorganizing. And we can talk about that some, I think, I'm trying to remember from the movies. I haven't read the book, or I've watched some documentaries, but the movies are clearest. Some of the parachute landings were much further from the bridge than intended, and they weren't able to immediately get to the bridge. And there was problems getting American units up there because they didn't quite secure everything. And so, and they were moving the relief forces to get up to the British up one basic road. So not only do you have whatever German resistance you might have to American movement up along the road, you also have actually British, I think it was mostly British armor unit coming up, if I'm not mistaken. But is you have just the traffic jam element of moving troops up that limited thing, that you couldn't get up there as fast as planned. So there's just a lot of stuff. And there was a later post-Market Garden, there was a large, my understanding, at least from the American side, because I don't know if it included any British, from the American side, I think there was a larger parachute drop, and I'm forgetting the name right now, across the Rhine, somewhere in Germany after Market Garden, that gets very little play, that went very well, actually. But it wasn't unnecessary, but it wasn't such a vital thing either. Kind of jumps nowadays, statics are basically a line of guys with chutes tight. Yeah, but yeah, but it's also just the idea of literally the door on the aircraft is partially what I'm thinking about. JP is what, and like I say, I've seen the photos of the guys out on the wing, but does that model of Soviet aircraft have a door that is easy to step out of? If not with a something you have to step up and over with a parachute, you know what I'm talking about. It's not necessarily something that the whole aircraft and the interior of the aircraft may be sort of more bomber-like or something that it's not easy to move people rapidly down the center of the aircraft to go out of the aircraft. And so I don't know the specific model type, and it very well may be a transport airplane, sort of passenger type, but even that doesn't mean that they have bench seatings to everybody stand up quickly and move in sort of a conventional out. Operation Varsity, thank you. Armored divisions, the armored division, I believe, was British, the Polish and Dutch troopers, right? And so, okay, early strategic bomber, and so you can imagine a strategic bomber has internal volume, partially just because of aerodynamic thing, but that doesn't mean that it's set up to rapidly move troops out the door. That's my point. Not so much that it's they don't have the idea of if they even had the idea of literally a static line yet, but just that whole, everything's a system. A tank is a system. An aircraft dropping paratroopers is a system. You have to, where are the paratroopers going to sit, and once they're going to sit, how are they going to, get hooked up to a static line, and how are they going to, How are they? How is the pilot going to, who's looking out ahead and knowing what they're approaching, the drop zone? How are they going to signal the people that get ready and then when to start going? That all has to be worked out, and that all has to flow. Hello, Dozed, or Optimistic Knowledge, if I remember correctly. When was it? Extremely slow. Yeah, TB3 or whatever. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, we need to do national focus. Okay, which is radar. That was the goal. And free civilian factories. We want more naval yards, shipyards. Yeah, I'm remembering. And we can modify. Oh, we need to be able to deploy. We need to. Okay, set location unit. We'll set them sort of here. And you deploy. Now. This always sort of bothers me. Oh, I want to come here. Okay, we have that currently, Sten guns, and maybe some of that would be affected versus these, and then these and 40. So I think we're going to do artillery next, or do artillery. We do research speed. Have you ever thought about doing... I have thought about it, Ari. Just haven't done it, and this has come out. That was actually something I was going to think about once I was done with the Total War, but we're out with this. During the 30s and later, during the war, they had the PE-8, I believe. Yeah, I'm not familiar with Soviet aircraft models well. I'm looking forward to seeing what B-Ice will do with these. Oh, yeah. Well, see, and this is one thing I want to state to you viewers now and viewers in the future. I have very little concern, very little care about, well, let's come here, these sets of stats. You know, 5% better attack because of this ammo. Or the stats on these tanks, because whether I agree with these or not, and whether I agree with the when we come to let's go with tanks. Oh no, I don't want to do that. I keep doing that. I don't like that part of the interface. What I mean to do is click here. Whether, you know, this is a good set of stats or this, I don't really care about this, because I know that whether it's Black Ice or somebody else is going to do work on it. And I hope, now I know more about tanks than I do aircraft, like I just said a moment ago, so I may judge that more critically because I know more about it. So that it's the mechanics that I love, that the modders and everybody else can play around. So I'm not saying they're wrong with their stats at all, but when people start around and this happens periodically and definitely happens right after release of Hearts of Iron, oh, this stats or these stats here or there or something, I don't care, because we'll get in and tweak them. It's the mechanics, the detailed mechanics that I love to have and be able to do. All the Black Ice add events to other historical ships, the same that they do with divisions. Yes, I hope so. What good do they open up for modability? Yeah, modders, yes. And so, yeah, modders can't make new. And so I haven't really looked into modding any. I'm going to do signal companies. Into modding any of these new stuff at all. but mechanics. Now, one thing I'll say this, and I really haven't looked too deeply into it, and we haven't done this. I like and don't like this. We're gonna do James Somerville. This is, and we can talk. Well, hold it. We're gonna end this episode, not this live stream, people. We're gonna be continuing that in a moment, but come back next time for when we talk fleet organizations. And so I hope you will be of interest and to hear my thoughts and to hear my understanding of the current situation. Thank you so much. If you haven't already, please like the videos, please subscribe, please comment, and you may see some video suggestions popping up on your screen. Please click one of those, or on the side, recommended videos in YouTube. Please click one of those of mine, and that tells YouTube, you don't have to watch too much of it, watch a few seconds, tells YouTube's algorithms that this is good content, and it'll start recommending it more to other people. So I'd really appreciate it if you would do that when you get to the end of the video, even if it's something you've seen before. And that's actually good, because YouTube algorithm likes videos that you go back and watch more than once. So I do appreciate it if you would do that. Thanks so much. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron, more of the Naval Edition.